Welcome to the Life Makeovers podcast. My name is Cindy D. Whitmer, and I am the Midlife Makeover Coach, helping you turn your midlife into your best life, one step at a time. Through powerful conversations, my own midlife roller coaster story, and over 3 decades of helping people transform their lives through counseling and coaching, I am on a mission to help you create your own definition of success and happiness. Thank you for being here. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Life Makeovers podcast. I'm Cindy D. Whitmer, and I thank you so much for listening. I recently read a book called The Anatomy of Loneliness by Teal Swan. So those of you that are watching on YouTube, all the podcasts are on my YouTube channel, Cindy D. Whitmer. The Midlife Makeover Coach. So if you prefer video, you can go there and enjoy the podcast as well. Anyway, my friend Hazel recommended this book a long time ago to me called The Anatomy of Loneliness by Teal Swan, and I have finally plowed through it. And I'll tell you, it is not an easy read. It is chock full of an in-depth, research-based look at loneliness, the epidemic of loneliness, and really helping us to understand what loneliness actually is, how it evolves, develops, and how to navigate it and through it and beyond it and feel less lonely in your life, feel better in your life, happier, more connected, and so forth. And I recently taught a lot of the concepts in my group coaching, the Midlife Makeover coaching group. And it was so powerful for the women in that group that I thought, well, I'm going to share it on the pod too and see if you listeners can get something out of it that's valuable to you. My hope is that you'll understand yourself a little better and understand others, other humans, humankind a little bit more, and look at how you can, if you're feeling lonely, how you can turn that around in your life in some ways that I'll share. So basically, we often think of loneliness as just feeling alone in the world, right? I mean, I think we sum that up, right? Maybe we just, like during the pandemic, a lot of people were really lonely. Many were living alone and had no outside, uh, community they could go to, nowhere they could go safely or feel safe doing it, or even whether it was even allowed to be out in public and things like that. And so that the pandemic created a lot of isolation, people working from home versus together in an office or corporate setting. A lot of us having our relationships through technology 100% instead of being able to get together socially and things like that. So the loneliness really ensued. But in all of history, people have been lonely, and there's more to it than just quote unquote not being with other people. And I think that's something that's very important for us to talk about today and note more where the foundation of your loneliness is coming from, besides just thinking, oh, I don't have a lot of friends, or I don't get to see my family very much, or I live by myself, so therefore I'm lonely, or whatever. It's much deeper. Which is very interesting, according to Teal Swan and the research that she backs it all up with. So she talks about 3 pillars of loneliness, 3 pillars, and those being number 1, separation, number 2, shame, and number 3, fear. So let's talk about each of these pillars. Now, this book is primarily about these 3 pillars and then how to manage loneliness and turn it around. But I'm going to give you the cliff notes. All right. A very, very condensed version. If this interests you, I recommend you get the book. So separation, number 1, the first loneliness pillar in the book is separation. And there can be all kinds of separation we experience in life, just like I talked about with the pandemic and how we were isolated from one another. Separation can also be, someone dies, and so you feel that physical separation from them. Separation can be breakups, divorces, getting fired from a job, moving to a new community. I mean, those kinds are one kind of separation. But she discusses another kind, which is called fragmentation. Fragmentation, and this is a separation of yourself within you. And what I believe she's trying to say is that anytime we are inauthentic, for example, in other words, we say yes when we really want to say no, or we tell a little white lie to people please, or we stay in a relationship, but when we feel like we can't be ourselves, those are situations where we are fragmenting ourselves. And so the loneliness comes from, I don't know who I am, or I am not being me. Like, who am I if I'm staying in this relationship and becoming a chameleon to keep this person happy? Or, saying yes to things that don't even mean anything to me or I don't value. Those are ways we fragment ourselves, and those cause an inner loneliness that can lead to great depression, great despair, anxiety, and all kinds of things. And so that's one pillar of loneliness, separation, and it can be any of those things. But the fragmentation is the piece that I really wanted you to hear, because that might be as new to a concept to you as it was to me. And I equate, actually, before I go on to shame, I thought about, when I was reading the book, I thought about the time in my life when my children were really, really little. And I reduced my career life to almost nothing to be a stay-at-home mom most of the time. And my husband was traveling a lot, and we lived in a community far from any of our families or whatever. And so I felt really alone. I was with those two kids a lot, day and night, by myself. And so I thought, the loneliness I was experiencing was, I miss adult company, I miss adult conversation, things like that, which was true. But the other loneliness was, I missed me, like the individual Cindy. Because although, yes, part of my individuality was, now I am also mom to these two lovely, wonderful babies, but it was, I miss the me that went out with her friends. I miss the me that, took an exercise class. I miss the me that loved to put puzzles together. I miss the me that, I wasn't doing these things that were very much a part of me before, because my life was consumed with raising small children, which those of you who have done that know exactly what I'm talking about. And my husband and I didn't go out on dates anymore, or very, very, very rarely. And, the whole thing. I mean, I didn't even go to the bathroom alone very often, which I'm sure y'all can remember what it's like for those of you who had children. And so I didn't realize it then, but I was fragmenting myself, right? It was fragmentation that was causing my loneliness, probably just as much or more than the lack of adult contact and interaction. So the separation from the genuine self. Not that being a mother wasn't authentically me as well, but it replaced, I did not balance the rest of me well with the role of becoming a mother of young children, thus the loneliness. Okay, number two, another pillar of loneliness is shame. Shame. Okay, so remember that guilt is when you feel bad about something you did. You think, oh gosh, I wish I wouldn't have done that. I wish I wouldn't have said that. So you feel bad about something very specific. Shame is, I am bad. So you're turning it into self-hatred. It's not, oh, I goofed up over here. It's, I am fundamentally bad or wrong or whatever. So you've shamed yourself. Others have shamed you, whatever. Oh, you're a bad girl. When you did something wrong when you were 6 and someone said, you are being such a bad girl. You are a bad girl. You went, oh, yeah, I am bad. That's shame. Okay. So it is a way that you push away from yourself. It's self-rejection. I am bad. I am not okay. And so thus you experience loneliness because of that. Okay. And then there's fear. The third pillar of loneliness is fear. So there's all kinds of fear, of course. There's all kinds of fears that we have that people experience. But whenever you are in fear, you are not in the present moment, unless the brief moments of fear in life when, someone pulls out in front of you really fast and you have to slam on your brakes, or your house is on fire and you have to get out. Those are real in the moment fears, right? But right now, when you're experiencing fear in your mind, oh, I hope that doesn't happen. Oh, what if this happens? Oh, what if that doesn't happen? Oh, what am I going to do if, or what about that? And oh no, I haven't done enough of this. Those kinds of fears, you are just, worrying ahead of time about something that hasn't happened yet. So you're not in the present moment. And so you cannot be experiencing connection in life right now. So therefore, you're lonely. You're isolating yourself, right? Fear also isolates us because if we have fear about going, trying something new, or fear of meeting new people, or fear of being honest, or whatever, it pushes away the experience of connection and belonging, which is the antidote to loneliness. Okay. So when you live in fear, we tend to be more reclusive. We tend to be very overtaken by our thoughts and therefore unable to be as participatory in our relationships or in the world in a healthy way where we can feel real connection. And then there are relationship fears. And I want to go over the ones that she discusses in the book because this is so important to understand loneliness. Okay. So, four common relationship fears, excuse me. One is fear of abandonment. Okay. Abandonment. So, the fear of abandonment is like you're afraid, someone's going to leave you. They're going to divorce you. They're going to break up with you. They're going to walk away from you. They're going to die, whatever. They're going to leave you in some way. And so when you have the fear of abandonment, you are more likely to not get close to people, not let them in, or you will push them away in some way. You'll sabotage the relationship. So, in other words, abandon the relationship before they abandon you. So, all of that causes, of course, loneliness. Number two, rejection or disapproval. Okay, a lot of people fear rejection, which could be a lot like abandonment, fear rejection, say people saying no to you, people not, picking you for the team, people breaking up with you, people whatever, and then disapproving of you. So we start off life wanting to get the approval of our parents or whatever adults are primarily caregiving for us, and we hunger for that. We want that. We think that's our ticket, right? And then that just keeps coming. We want the approval of the boss so we can keep the job. We want the approval of the date so we can get a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a spouse or partner. We want, whatever. It goes on. And we fear that we're not going to get the approval, and we might become chameleons to satisfy those we want the approval of. And then again, that causes fragmentation, which causes loneliness. So you can see how these all play together. Number three, pain. A relationship fear is pain and feeling trapped in your pain. Now, an example of this would be, let's say you are in a live-in or marital partnership, and your spouse or partner is violent. There's domestic violence in your house, So you're physically unsafe, you're maybe physically harmed even, and probably, and of course, emotionally tormented along with it. But you stay because you think the pain of leaving the relationship or the relationship ending is worse than the pain of being trapped there. Okay, so there's that. You're so fearful of the end of the relationship, or you can't see past the relationship enough that you will remain trapped in your pain. And of course, that's a horrifyingly lonely circumstance. So that's an example of that. You can probably think of a lot of others. Number four, relationship fear is the loss of self or enmeshment within a relationship, or the loss of self. Now, this can happen with any kind of relationship as well. It can happen with parents and children a lot, where children and the parents are just enmeshed. They're overly close. Their lives are so wrapped up in each other that they hardly know they're separate people. Okay. When you see parents out there who are creating little thems, oh, my child's going to do this, my child's going to do that, my child's going to be this, my child's going to be that, I'm going to dress this child this way, this child's going to behave this way, this child's going to do this and not do this child's going to have these friends and not those friends, that kind of thing. That's a parent-child enmeshment, where the parent really does not see their child as a separate human being, but more an extension of themselves. And so they try to control everything. Um, you can do this to yourself at any age and stage as well. You might be doing it right now, where you kind of lose yourself inside a relationship with someone else. Now, this could be the boss at work who bend and twist your body into 14 different directions to please this boss, to become the employee that you think the boss wants you to be, to try to get the promotion, to try to get the raise, to try to survive at work, whatever, to try not to lose your job. But you really have lost sense of yourself. You don't use your own ideas anymore. You don't come up with new things. You just behave. You just robotically, uh, you know, answer the call of the boss's whims and whatever, and leave your own creativity out of it. But you can lose yourself in any kind of relationship, a friendship where you're doing all the giving, the other friend is just taking, anything like that. So when we're involved in that kind of enmeshment, where there's no separation between who we are and who they are, we've lost that. There's no clear definition, and we're just lost in the sea of the relationship. That is a lonely, lonely state to be in. Okay. So those are the four relationship fears that are directly related to loneliness. Okay, so I hope this is making sense. There is a whole lot more that could be said about those three pillars of loneliness: the separation, shame, and the fear. There is a ton of information in this book, The Anatomy of Loneliness: How to Find Your Way Back to Connection by Teal Swan. There it is again. For those of you watching on YouTube, it's available anywhere. But here's the antidote to the loneliness, and it is, drum roll, connection. Connection with others, okay, and to the self, okay. So the Swan talks about real intimacy. Now, this is not sexual intimacy. This is knowing the self intimately and knowing others intimately, okay. So really, really knowing yourself and honoring who you are, loving yourself, honoring yourself, knowing yourself, and responding to the unique person that you are by doing things you love, lining your life up with what you really value, creating meaning in your life based on who you are, using your genuine skill set to contribute to the world in whatever way is important to you, and allowing others to know you intimately and really get you, which of course requires us to be authentic and vulnerable. Letting others be intimate, to intimately know us, means we need to be willing to be vulnerable, which means we're honest, we say how we feel, we share our real selves, We open up our world to others so they can see inside, things like that. That's real intimacy and real connection. And along with this, of course, you want to know others intimately as well, which takes effort on your part. So you want to, like, if you're passionate about something, let's say you're passionate about um, gardening. And so, because you're passionate about gardening, you read every book about gardening. You go to nurseries and other garden centers, and you look at all the options, and you talk to other people, people that work there, and other gardeners that are there about, different plants or flowers or types of soil or seasons of the year to do what with how. And all this stuff, you go deep, right? You get to know this subject intimately because you're so interested in it, you're passionate about it, and you want to carry out activities around it. Well, when you want to be intimate with someone else, another human being, you want to get to know them that way. You want to take a deep dive, right, and really know them. One of the reasons I insist on traveling to see people that I love is I want to see them in their homes. I want to see where they work. I want to see where they go for their exercise classes. I love to know where they go get their groceries. I mean, this may all sound really bizarro to you, but I love to know my friends' and family's real worlds. I really want to know their worlds as much as they're willing to share. So I travel to see them and I have them show me around, like, oh, show me the way you walk to work, or show me, where you hang out with your friends, or, oh, is this your favorite trail that your favorite park to visit in your community, or whatever. So that's one of the ways that I get to know people more intimately. And then, of course, the another way is to spend time with them, do activities they're interested in, see their world, and ask them questions, really like deep questions, like the real questions. Not. I mean, the fun things to ask, of course, help you get to know what's your favorite ice cream, or what's your favorite restaurant. But also just going deeper, like, what's really important to you, like what really makes you tick, or what's the hardest thing you've ever experienced, or what is the best thing that's ever happened to you, or what do you believe about this and that. Just get to know each other, be more intimately connected, take a deep dive in other people, and let them know you. Only ask questions of other people that you're willing to answer back yourself, so they can know you equally as intimately. And then being authentic is, of course, if you want to order the pizza instead of the salad, and you let yourself order the pizza, that's authentic. But authenticity is much deeper than those little decisions we make every day. It's really when your inner self, your truest inner self, is congruent with the outer you share, you show. Okay, so your inner and outer selves are congruent. They're not in conflict, they're not opposite, they're congruent. Now, please understand, I'm not saying that it means if you're a private person now, you have to go blab all of your emotional garbage to the whole wide world. That's not it. That's not the inner outer. That's not what I'm talking about. Because if you're authentically a private person, that means when you're out there, you're probably still going to be a reasonably private person, because that would be authentic for you. Okay. So being authentic doesn't mean we have to wear our heart on our sleeves 100, every minute of the day. It means just being ourselves, who we really actually are. So the values you hold on the inside, the beliefs you hold on the inside, the thoughts and feelings you carry on the inside, that is your outer life as well. They're not in conflict with one another. So the more authentic you are, the more willing you are to be vulnerable, and the more willing you are to be intimately connected to others, the less lonely you are going to feel, because you will not be as fragmented. You will not be experiencing these relationship fears that we've talked about. You will not feel separated nearly as much from other people. And the more authentic you are, the more the love and acceptance of yourself will also grow. So, therefore, shame will be reduced and hopefully eliminated from your life. So that is how it all kind of rolls together. So, please take this in, especially if you are feeling lonely in your life, and go over this podcast information again. If you really want to dive deep, get yourself the book and read it. It's a thorough, I mean, there is tons and tons of information and ways to address loneliness in it and understand why you feel shame, why you feel separate, why you experience fear. There's all kinds of explanations and research and theories and everything shared in there to help us understand ourselves better. So if you really want to go deep, go there. And also understand that I do the deep work with people as well. That's what I do in my coaching programs, the group coaching programs. Like I said, we just went through this information just last night in the group, and it was so powerful for the women in the group that I thought, okay, the people on the pod need to hear some of this so they can get started on it as well. It's so important, such important work. So if you're interested in coaching on a group with a group experience where you're with other people in midlife who are going through many of the same issues you're probably facing or have faced or sorting through as you get through midlife and beyond, or if you want to go on the deepest possible dive and do your personal growth work and move through some of the difficult things in your life, I've got your back. I'm telling you, I have 35 years experience of helping people transform their lives. I can take anything you've got and help you through it. I am certain of it. I know what I'm doing. I'm good at this and I love to do it. I'm passionate about helping people get from A to B. Life is meant to be enjoyed. You do not have to suffer in midlife or beyond. You can turn your midlife crisis into the best years of your life and look forward to the rest of your life instead of dreading it. And that is the journey I am on. And that is the path I get on with other women. And so I really invite you to spend some time with me. Go to my calendar at timewithcindy.com and set up a time and let's just talk. Let's talk and see where you're at and see what I can do to serve you with no obligation whatsoever. I just want to know my listeners and know who's out there and what you're going through and see if I can make a difference. So, timewithcindy.com. Thank you so much for listening. Please invite others to listen that you think would benefit from this podcast and everything we've got going on here. And I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Life Makeovers podcast. Please like, subscribe, and share this podcast with those that you think would also benefit from what we're doing here. And I will talk to you again soon.